So basically, this is the plot of Mozart's IDOMENEO in a nutshell. Act 1. The opera is set in ancient times following the Trojan Wars. The title character, King IDOMENEO of Crete, was able to defeat the Trojans by teaming up with the Greeks. Now that Troy has fallen, he gets in his boat to go home to Crete, and he has captured the Trojan princess Ilia and has sent her ahead of him as a prisoner. In Crete, Ilia has fallen in love with Idomante. Idomante returns the affection, but since Idomante is the son of IDOMENEO, and therefore the son of her enemy, they are both hesitant to admit their love for one another. To try and convince Ilia of his love for her without really coming out and saying it, Idomante releases all the other Trojan prisoners. Electra, daughter of the Greek king Agamemnon, who is also spending some time in Crete as she waits out the war, realizes what this goodwill gesture really means and becomes jealous of Ilia because she is in love with Idomante, and he does not return the affection. She is also incensed that Idomante just released the majority of their mutual enemy prisoners, and she is afraid that he might desire Ilia as a bride. Next scene. Remember this whole time that Idomante is releasing Trojan prisoners and trying to convince Ilia of his love without really coming out and saying it, and Electra being jealous? Remember that IDOMENEO is on his way back to Crete. But before his boat reaches the shores of his home, a violent storm arises, and the water begins to tear his ship apart. IDOMENEO cries out to Neptune for help, vowing that if Neptune spares his life, he will sacrifice the first person he meets after being safely washed ashore. So Neptune makes sure that IDOMENEO gets washed ashore, and meanwhile, Idomante, hearing his father's ship has gone down, rushes to the shores of Crete to see for himself what has transpired. So, of course, the first person that IDOMENEO sees is his son, Idomante. At first, they don't even recognize each other because they've been apart for so long, but when IDOMENEO puts all the puzzle pieces together, he is terrified because he realizes that in order to keep his vow to Neptune, he now has to sacrifice his own son. So he tells Idomante to stay away from him and runs away in confusion. Hurt and confused by his father's rejection, Idomante leaves, while the oblivious crowds on the shore celebrate Neptune's mercy as the storm passes. Moving on to Act 2. IDOMENEO confides in Arbace, telling him about the vow he made to Neptune and the predicament he is now in, seeing as he has essentially vowed to sacrifice his own son. Arbace says, "I have an idea. Why don't you put Idomante on a boat with Electra and have him escort her back to Greece, so that he is nowhere to be found when Neptune comes looking for his sacrifice?" IDOMENEO thinks this is a fantastic idea and begins making plans when Ilia arrives on the scene. Even though IDOMENEO is her sworn enemy, she is suddenly trying to make amends with him, hoping that it will allow her to pursue a life with Idomante. IDOMENEO is confused at her sudden change of heart, but doesn't really change any of his plans of sending Idomante away, basically exiling him, still fearing his vow to Neptune. This makes Electra very happy because she gets a whole boat ride across the sea with Idomante all to herself, with Ilia, her rival, left behind. But Neptune is very displeased with this plan, and as Idomante and Electra's ship pulls out of the harbor, he conjures up another storm and sends a giant sea monster to attack the ship. Idomante and Electra survive, but nobody leaves Crete that day. IDOMENEO admits to his people part of the whole mess he has gotten himself into with Neptune, but not the whole truth, leaving out the whole "I have to sacrifice my son" part. The act ends with IDOMENEO expressing the horrible, confusing situation he is in, and his royal subjects running for cover from the continued storm. Act 3. The act opens with Ilia singing of her love for Idomante. When he appears, he tells her that he is going to fight the sea monster. Breaking up their private moment, Electra and IDOMENEO arrive. Idomante asks his father to be honest about why he is sending him away. IDOMENEO provides a very evasive answer, and Electra is fuming because she can still see that Idomante only has eyes for Ilia. The four characters sing a beautiful quartet, all expressing their personal hopes, fears, and deep dark desires. It is an amazing musical moment, so definitely watch for it. The scene changes, and IDOMENEO is once again in conversation with Arbace. Arbace tells him that the whole countryside is up in arms about IDOMENEO's unfulfilled vow to Neptune. He fears that if IDOMENEO continues to try and get out of keeping up his end of the bargain, the people of Crete will revolt and chaos will ensue. Then, Idomante runs in, informing everyone that he has slain the sea monster. But when IDOMENEO reveals that that doesn't really solve their problem, Idomante begins to put the pieces together and realizes that Neptune is still wanting a life sacrificed. IDOMENEO reveals that Idomante accidentally became the chosen sacrificial candidate, and all the people are horrified. But noble Idomante offers himself willingly, and Ilia in turn says that she will stick with him to the death, not being able to bear the thought of parting with him. As IDOMENEO is thinking all of this through, trying to find a way out, Neptune finally chimes in, and basically says that he will show mercy to everyone, involving no sacrifice, if IDOMENEO agrees to abdicate his throne, and Prince Idomante is named king, and marries his beloved and faithful Ilia, making her queen. Everyone is happy about this, except Electra. Remember, she is still in love with Idomante, jealous of Ilia, and is driven to the brink of insanity as all of her hopes and dreams of a life with Idomante are crashing down around her. She sings a mad scene where she expresses her rage and sings of longing for death instead of enduring such torment. This doesn't really change much in the end though, as Idomante and Ilia are together, IDOMENEO willingly abdicates his throne, and basically all the people are happy and peace is restored.